I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
Welcome to the Total Apex Sports Podcast, Episode 7. I am your host, Brandon Ellis, as Andrew is out this week. Again, I have Shane Foley with me and Chris Brayton. Chris writes for gaming, Shane writes for fantasy. What's up, fellas?
Feeling great.
Chris, how you doing, my man? Everything good, Chris? Having some issues. All right, let me get back to this.
Word.
Yeah.
Oh.
What happened? Oh, no.
Guess you can't hear us.
Okay. All right. All right. Hold on. We are having some tech. All right. Maybe Chris will come back. So sorry about that, everybody. Yep.
Chris comes back. Yeah.
Add to stage. Let's see what we got here. Chris, can you hear us now?
I can. I apologize. Well, technology always hates me. Been working all day, and all of a sudden it breaks at the moment I need it not to.
Yes, 1,000%, brother. All right, now, as we are here live on the Total Apex Sports Podcast. This has been a weird episode already, but let's get into the NBA. As Tuesday night, me and Andrew said Bam entered the 10,000 club for the Miami Heat franchise. As we were talking about that, he was in the progress of making some more actual NBA history, scoring 83 points, passing Kobe Bryant for the second most points in a game in NBA history. And Adebayo, and it's been a controversy all week ever since he did it because of the way the last few minutes were handled. Shane, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the matter?
All right, I'm really glad we're starting off of this because I feel like, I understand why people think that the record is now slightly tainted, but I just want to give some context for people. So, did they foul the Wizards to give Bam more time at the end? Yes, but I want you guys to think about this. First of all, he had 41 of his 83 in the first half. So once he had that stat line, the Heat were going to do, and any coach would do whatever they could to get him as many shots as possible. Maybe not to specifically beat Kobe's record, but to give him see if he can have a record night. I remember when Melo hit 64, that he did it on the Knicks, and even his teammates were saying yeah, we kept him in the game way longer than he needed to be, and we were giving them extra possessions. I feel like it's a very common thing. Now, it wasn't fun basketball to watch, at the end because it was just foul. I get that. The other thing, too, is that I hear a lot of people saying that, oh, well, it's not a real record because it was against the Wizards and they can't defend Bam. But, the record setter is Wilt Chamberlain in 1962. I'd love to hear who was alive in 1962 that was tall enough and had the strength to defend Wilt. I'm pretty sure the answer is no one.
No one.
And, yeah, exactly. And even Kobe, when he got 81, it was against the Raptors.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he scored 81 against the 96 Bulls. So all those records, they're all against teams that kind of have holes. So I don't know. I think it's slightly tainted maybe because of the fouling, but he still deserves flowers. That's my thing.
Yeah,
Chris, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the way I see it. Number one, yeah, he did it against the Wizards, but if it was so easy to do against them, why aren't more people doing it? The reality is, 83 points is incredibly hard to score, no matter who you're playing, no matter who you are, right? So I hate people minimizing that and pretending like that's not a feat. You know what I mean? I get the concerns, but I don't understand why we can't all just celebrate seeing something that so rarely happens. You know what I mean? And like Shane brought up, it's everybody that got there. It was stretched in one way or another a little bit to get to that point. If you think the players aren't aware that they're getting close to that when it's happening, and the coaches aren't aware of it when it's happening, and all the times it's happened, including Wilt's, I mean, I highly doubt that situation wasn't being aware of by Wilt and wasn't aware, I mean, who knows exactly how things played into it. So I don't see any reason to diminish it at all. And like I said, I just think it's a cool thing that we should, as sports fans, celebrate getting to see stuff we don't get to see every day. Just like, seeing in baseball a perfect game pitched, or, it's exciting no matter how it gets about. Celebrate the fact that you got to see something that was exciting. That's the way I view it. So I don't love that they're minimizing it in any way. I don't think it needs to. I mean, it's like I said, if everybody could do it, everybody would do it. The fact that it happens so incredibly rarely speaks to the fact that it is very hard to do. So.
And I Tuesday night live on the podcast, I was keeping track kind of what was going on, and off to the side while obviously after our sports segment and while the other segments were going on, and I was keeping track. I'm like, oh, is he actually going to get to 70? I was thinking 70 first. I was like, okay, once he gets to 70, we'll see what actually happens here. And he got to 70. I was like, okay, he has the opportunity to get to the 81 of Kobe Bryant. I don't think he'll get to Wilt with how much time's left, but I think he has the opportunity to get to Kobe. And I'm in the back of my mind, as a Kobe guy, I'm like, oh, I don't know how I would feel personally as a Kobe fan if Bam passes him here. In this kind of weird scenario of a game. Because that's the thing with Kobe Bryant. How we doing, Jerry? With Kobe Bryant, the Kobe Bryant game, they needed every single one of those 81 points in that game for them to win that game. They were blowing out the Wizards in this game. You know what I mean? They were up 30. So it's at the same time, that's why another reason why for me it's diminished. I still love the accomplishment. I recognize that Bam had a great night. And it's not Bam's fault. I think it's more, Sproul's fault and the rest of his teammates trying to force feed it the way they were doing it, and everything like that. And also, the team they were playing too is horrible on the floor right now. I know. I'm sorry, Jacob. I know you're a Wizards fan. I know you're probably out there, maybe rewatching this. I'll have you on Sunday. We might talk about it before the show. But speaking of NCAA bracket show on Sunday, Total Apex special. Tune in for that. Shout out that real quick. But I'm just going to say this. Last thoughts on this before we move to Luka. Bam, you deserve it. Congrats to you. You deserve every bit of praise that you've have gotten. I'm not sure you deserve every single criticism that's been thrown your way, but in the last couple of days, but some of it is not all of it. Bam doesn't deserve any criticism. It's how the rest of his teammates, the organization, handled it. That's how I feel. Go ahead, Shane.
Can I ask a quick question to you as a Kobe guy?
Yeah.
Do you think that once he got to around 81, he should have stopped in deference to Kobe?
I think so. I think it would have been. I think they should have pulled him out at 81. Once he got to 81, they should have pulled him out. That's how I feel about it personally, because he hit the free. But the only thing is too, he hit 81 as part of the first free throw at the line, and then got to 82. I think at the second free throw, if I'm correct on that. So it would have been a weird situation, because he would have to shoot the second free throw and miss it. So that's where I'm at with that. I guess it's a weird thing. I know the way he got the 81 was mostly at the line. I think the 83 was mostly at the line the last few minutes. So
a lot of it was.
Yeah, and like
and I guess.
So, go ahead.
I guess I wonder why. Just as a question more to you, also, why would he have to defer to Kobe? I mean, obviously, I understand Kobe's death was heartbreaking and all that, but in every other sport, a lot of people have records where people have passed away. Should everybody be deferring those records every time?
I get
so why does
I get where you're coming from with that, and I think I would concede that point when you bring that up, Chris, because I think you should go for it, in any other situation. So I just personally, as a guy that believed in loved Kobe Bryant growing up,
I hear you.
It leaves a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth where you had a team that you were up 30 against, and in the last 5 minutes of the game, you're going for however many points you were going for. So that's just my 2 cents on it. But I'm not disrespecting Bam when I say that. I think I'm just more defending Kobe a little bit. So
for sure, I hear you.
Yeah, I would say for the Kobe fan, which I'm a Kobe fan too. Don't get me wrong, but the people who have that sour taste in their mouth, I think the Kobe 81 might still get more respect.
Yeah,
because that game was closer. And Kobe was always taking shots like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he might get more respect for that part of the record anyways.
Yeah. So, But no, congrats to Bam. He's going to be in history forever. I don't know if any – I'll ask this real quick to y'all, and then we'll move on to Luka. Who do you think in the league right now can catch Bam 83? Because Bam would have been my first choice for catching Kobe.
I think there's someone we're about to talk about who likes to score a lot of points, and I'll say him.
I see the name that you're thinking of. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
When we mention it,
there might be a picture of him. Yeah.
Yeah. We're about to get into it, Chris.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's so hard to predict. I mean, obviously, Luka is the easy answer because he loves to score and he loves to, take the ball and shoot. I mean, there's obviously some great talent out there that has the potential to do that. Right. I'm not sure the person who does it is in the league right now necessarily, or that we'd predict it. Because like you said, I would not have predicted Bam to be the one to do it. Like if you would ask me this question, when Kobe did it, Bam wasn't in the league, and I certainly wouldn't have predicted it even at the beginning of this year. Who might push it? I probably would have told you nobody, so it's certainly not Bam wouldn't have been my first choice. So I'm not sure that they're in the league at this point, truthfully. Yeah.
I'm going to give a couple names. I know Luka's one, and we'll get into Luka right in a second. I know I've been prologuing it, but this is a really important milestone in NBA history that we need to, basically Bam owns the modern record now. So we want to dive in a little bit. So for me, I say Luka, and I can also say Wemby. If Wemby gets on one of those hot stretches, I think Wembanyama will maybe be the guy to do it. So
that's a decent answer, yeah.
Yeah. So for me, now from moving on from Bam to Luka Doncic, Luka scored 51 the other night against the Bulls in LeBron's return. I guess him and LeBron scored in regular. I would need to have Andrew here to give me that stat a little bit more. Just talk about Luka, like the Lakers. Let's talk about the Lakers a little bit here, Shane, real quick, while he tries to come back. Where do you think they're at right now?
I mean, okay, Luka's scoring 51. I don't think it really changes my mind on anything in terms of they're going to be like their range of outcomes highest is like maybe getting past the first round.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of him scoring 51, I don't know if part of it honestly was because Bam scored 83.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, let's let Luka shoot as much as he wants and see what happens. But then also part of it is that a lot of people were saying that Luka and Austin statistically are better when they're on the court than when it's all the three together.
Yeah.
Of Reeves, Luka, and LeBron. So
Exactly.
LeBron last night was LeBron's comeback. So I'm not sure if Luka was like, "Oh, you think we're a worse team with LeBron? Well, here's 51 points, and Austin, why don't you go score 30, and everyone can shut up." So I don't know if it was a bit on. I will say, also part of the reason too is like for a team with no playoff aspirations, the Bulls sure kept that game close.
Yeah.
Bazelis and Josh Giddey had great games, and I think that's what like it was. If you looked at it beforehand, it was like, well, this matchup has blowout potential, and it wasn't blown out. The Bulls kept scoring, so I think that also led Luka to be like, well, I'll keep shooting if you're going to keep this a close game, and then in the fourth quarter they broke out. Yeah.
So I want to move on to SGA, and I'll let Chris handle that real quick. SGA broke Wilt's record for 127 straight 20-point games. Chris, talk about that record for me too.
Yeah, quick. I mean, obviously any record that's been held for that long is incredibly impressive. You know what I mean? And I think so. The reality is the way that the league is these days, records like that are gonna start to like people are gonna push up against that more and more. You know what I mean? Just because scoring is more like is bigger now in the same way that in baseball, home runs happen more. So you see some of that, those record breaking, stuff like that. Whereas they hadn't, in the past, team records, things of that nature. That being said, it's been held for an incredibly long time, and SGA is a fantastic player. So it doesn't shock me to see him be the one that passes it. But what I find interesting about SGA is I still feel like, despite how much accolades he has and these records being broken, I still feel like he's underrated. Like, I feel like and he's playing on the best team in the league, so you would think, but I just think Oklahoma City isn't one of the big markets. So they're marketed, but I just feel like less people know about him than like the players like Luka who are on the Lakers, which is a big market team, or, some of the other players like that. So it's interesting to see, but no, I'm incredibly impressed. It's a record that's been around forever, so obviously it's not easy to do that. My same argument, it's a scoring one. If it'd been around forever, it's obviously not an easy one to break. So congrats to SGA for doing it, and I'm sure he'll have many, many more. I certainly, think he'll have plenty more runs like that in his career. So.
Yeah, so we had another through line. This is another through line from Tuesday. We had like when he tied Wilt's record at 126 on Tuesday night on Tuesday night's podcast, and I said Andrew brought up the question about top 20 at the end of his career and what his legacy is. I said right now the perception is because of the free throw line and all that, how he gets to the line, the foul baiting and all that stuff, like to other fans. His perception would keep him out of those all-time talks. Obviously, they keep on winning and become the dynasty that everyone thinks the Thunder is going to be. He could, shut up those perceptions real quick. But at the same time, for me, I still respect SGA, and I think 15 years down the road, he'll be in those conversations. And they won't remember the way he got to the foul line
right. Well, and I think the reality is that's sort of how the game is being played right now. People might not like it, but the reality is that's what the game looks like. I mean, do I love it? No, I don't. But it's just every star player is doing it pretty much. So at some point it's just part of the game, and you can't really knock him for playing the game that's, quite frankly, I'd argue LeBron kind of started. I mean, truthfully, and LeBron is obviously still considered one of the best ever, if not the best ever by some people, so my argument is he's just playing the game as it's being played today. And so you can't really knock him for that.
Shane, real quick thoughts on before we get to the Jaylen Brown stuff with the foul.
No, I think the interesting thing about SGA is, first of all, Chris hit the nail on the head. that this party started well before SGA got here. And I think if you're going to use that to disqualify SGA, then it should disqualify James Harden from top 20 and to other players to some respect. Russell, maybe not triple-double. But basically, that culture was pre-existent. And the other thing about SGA, too, is, I mean, at least if you look at his recent play, he has a really good mid-range game. And to me, having a good mid-range game is a way to have another option as opposed to going for the foul baiting. Because, like, if you look at, like it's the opposite of, like, 2019 James Harden, where he gets the ball, he either step back three or he goes at the line. And whatever happens, happens. It's like the layup goes in or he gets the foul call.
Yeah.
SGA, he's not that type of player right now. He's like, he'll go in and then he'll dip back. He'll do a step back from the elbow. He'll do a post move. He has other options. So I would say he doesn't really need at this point to be such a foul baiter. And the other thing too is for anyone who's listening that doesn't look at like a lot of like NBA stats, getting 20 that consistently is actually really hard. I think some people think like, well, Jordan probably gets 20 every night. LeBron gets, but like, I mean, Cade Cunningham scored 8 the other night against Philly. You know, there's been other star players that, you know, they might put together 19 games, but then the 20th, their shot's not falling. And it'll happen. So don't sleep on how big that is, I would say.
That's a big record. And when SGA, you know, broke that record and everything like that, it's one of those records as well. It's crazy to think about breaking that, because it's like 127 consecutive games. A regular season's 82 games. He's been doing it for all 82 last year, and then this season, how many they played so far this season, or a combination of half the last season, this season. So it's crazy to think about that record, being broken. Speaking of the foul baiting and stuff like that, Chris's Celtics, Jaylen Brown getting ejected off of a big game on national TV against the Spurs in the middle of that game, and then apparently he was live tweeting in the locker room for the scrutiny for the refs. They did talk about it the next morning on First Take. I'll start with this. The ref that ejected him wasn't the ref he was talking to. He was talking to the crew chief, and it was the other ref coming from the side. One of the assistant refs, I'll call him here, coming from the side and ejecting him. Chris, I'll let you have the floor since it's your Celtics, and go in real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have so many words I could say about it. Ultimately, Jaylen Brown, as a star of the team, needs to be aware of his surroundings and aware of how he comes across, and he needs to be able to control himself. I will start that off right off the bat. So no defense of how he reacted after he got ejected and having to have the entire team carry him off and doing the live tweeting. I think that was all a bit much. That being said, he was right to argue originally, because he was actually right in that situation. And the ref that ejected him absolutely should not have ejected him. Yeah. He had not done enough to be ejected at that point. So all of that was unreasonable, in my opinion, completely unreasonable. Yep. His reaction to it, he needs to be better, in my opinion. I think he needs to set the example. He certainly can't be taken off at refs, and as much as he's right too about, his tweet was, I think the exact tweet was, this is the bleep I've been talking about, in reference to the refs and making it the ref show. And I don't even necessarily disagree with him on that. I think, and we see it kind of in all sports a lot of times, the refs kind of take over in a way. And I mean, again, I keep referencing baseball because, that's sort of the sport I always lean on, but they've been talking about it forever with the umps too, it being the ump show, and them just tossing people when they look at them wrong, and I mean, I think it's a similar situation here. It never should have happened. He was 100% right. And, all the stuff after that, especially on a national stage, especially as the person who's been the leader of that team the entire season that's really kept them in it in a year that was supposed to be a down year for the Celtics, right?
Yeah.
Not just losing Tatum to injury for most of the year, but also obviously they got rid of Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis too. I mean, the Celtics were not supposed to be good, and Jaylen Brown's kind of carried that team. So if you're gonna be the man, which he's wanted to be for a long time, you have to be able to have your composure a little bit too. No matter how right you may be, sometimes you gotta bite your tongue and keep it together, because that was an important game, and a game that the Celtics probably could have won and were winning at the time, and ultimately they went on to lose. And put a lot of pressure on Tatum too, quite frankly, who had just come back from injury, and he had to kind of come in there and play more than they probably wanted him to as a result of that too. So it was a tough situation all around, really.
I want to let you have the floor with this real quick, Chris, before I just move on to the next topic. What are your thoughts on Tatum coming back?
So I'm concerned about it. Just my personal gut reaction is I'm concerned about it, because I know how long that injury typically takes to heal. You know what I mean? And so I don't want him to re-injure himself, because if he does re-injure himself, it could be far more detrimental to him. That being said, as somebody who's followed it pretty closely and actually followed him pretty closely, I will say that I trust the team's doctors if they say that he's healthy enough to play. And once he got cleared, I could tell you just Tatum himself, he was never going to not, like if he got the okay, he was coming in, and he's going to come in and play 100%. Because for all of everything with the league and the, load management and stuff, if there's one thing you can rely on Tatum to do, is that he's going to play his games. He doesn't sit. He's not the type of person that does the load management. He wants to play. He wants the ball, and he wants to do what he can to help the team at all times. You know what I mean? So I believe he knows what a serious injury could do for his career, and he's smart enough to listen to the people around him. And if they say he's ready, then I trust that he's ready. Does it personally give me concern? Yes, but I have to trust the professionals here. And the Celtics have a pretty good, unlike some of the other Boston teams, the Celtics have a pretty good track record with injuries. So I'm willing to trust the professionals here. And if they say he's ready, I'm going to say he's ready. And, and hopefully they ease him in a way that's healthy for him. But again, he said point blank to the doctor, he said, if you're clearing me, I'm not playing, being a role player. If you're clearing me, I'm playing, So I think everybody around knows that and knows what his expectation is. And I don't think they'd let him do it if they had serious concerns. And so I'm having faith in the organization, and they haven't given me a reason not to. So
the reason I did that segment right there, because me and Shane were on last week for the Tatum return and everything like that. And I wanted to give Chris some time real quick to talk about it. That's his team. That's his. He's a Boston fan. So I wanted to have that thrown in, because I wanted to go ahead and get to the college side of things here. After that, I mean, we had a Russell Westbrook thing. I just don't think it works for what the idea is Andrew wanted in this situation. So I will let basically with the Russell Westbrook situation real quick, I'll just get through it real quick. Russell had a heated exchange with a Kings reporter the other night. It's Russell. It's normal players, player reporters tension situation, so that's why I'm going to breeze through that real quick and move on to the biggest college basketball story heading into the weekend now, with Miami, Ohio losing in the quarterfinals the other day to UMass. This is how does this impact the bubble, y'all? I'll let whoever wants to go first.
I'm just gonna say, because last week I did said that if they stayed undefeated, like they could be a 10 or a 9, right? Miami of Ohio. They do lose this game. I still think they should be a 12, or something like that. They belong. I don't know what Chris feels, but I feel like they belong. Right
now, they're on 11. They're on the 11 line, and I think right now, they'd be in Dayton, from what I'm hearing.
They'd be, I feel like that's a fine matchup.
Yeah,
and then I mean, obviously you're doing the selection show on Sunday. Shout out, but especially if you, I think that if you can look at the Miami of Ohio bracket, wherever they fall, and who they have to face to get to the Final Four.
Yeah.
If we're looking at it and we're like, that's a tough bracket, then there's really nothing to complain about.
Yeah,
is
exactly
my view. Yeah.
Chris, your quick thoughts on the Miami Ohio loss and then how it impacts the rest of the bubble.
Yeah, I certainly think it's a tough loss for them. And, in my experience, the MAC did not get very much respect. So the fact that they lost there I would think is going to hurt them for Selection Sunday for sure. I don't know how much. I mean, I've heard some rumors that they drop them out altogether. I think that would be incredibly drastic if they did. At the end of the day, they won 31 games, I believe.
31-0, yep.
Yeah. So I just can't imagine putting in it, no matter what conference the team is from, putting in a 19-15 team or an 18-15 team over a 31-win team. Just doesn't seem fair. I mean, they can't control what conference they play in. So an 11 or 12 feels right for them. I think that would be reasonable for sure. So I hope that that's what they do on Selection Sunday.
So 2 things to keep an eye on. The A10, if there's a bid stealer in that, other than St. Louis or VCU, that would be a bubble. That would be a bid stealer right there. And then I think it's the Utah State's conference, the Mountain West. If someone other than Utah State wins that conference, that would be a bid stealer there, according to Joe Lunardi. So those are the 2 bid stealers that could mess it up too. Now, granted, Auburn also lost on the same day Miami, Ohio lost, and that was the big debate, was either Auburn or Miami, Ohio. Now, Auburn, they had the toughest schedule, and Miami had one of the weaker schedules in the nation. Now, but the record, Miami won a lot of, obviously 31-0 before they lost to UMass. Auburn was like in the middle of the pack record wise. They middle of the pack SEC, and then you saw in the SEC tournament why Auburn's not the greatest team to be in the bubble. So right now, it's early to tell. I mean, we still have to wait till all the championship games have been played, and all the automatic qualifiers are in. But I think they're safely in. Even with that loss, I think they're safely in. If it is the first 4 game in Dayton, perfect. And Jeff Goodman had this tweet too. Put a Miami, Ohio against an Auburn. A lot of people will watch that, get the first 4, that game specifically. If you put those 2 in. Granted, I don't think Auburn deserves to be in. I don't care about tough strength of schedule. It's what you do with that schedule. And the resume is not good, even though you have the number 1 strength of schedule. It's not good for Auburn. I'm sorry. So they got blown out by Michigan. They got blown out. They got blown out in a lot of these tough games too. So, so with that being said, Miami, Ohio, I think they'll be safely in. I think, like Shane said, 11 or 12. I personally think, after what I'm hearing, it's going to be the first 4. Like, they're going to be one of the first 4. I think so. We'll see what happens. Moving on to the Big 12 situation. I don't know if you guys have seen the glass court they had for the women's tournament and earlier parts of the men's tournament. They're going back to traditional hardwood for the semis and the final because of the Texas Tech injury. Slipping the guys, I can't remember who it was a Texas Tech player against Iowa State, slipped on the TCU logo on the left wing. And the Big 12 commissioner was on Pat McAfee today explaining the decision. I encourage y'all to watch that interview on Pat's channel. It was a good interview. Basically, it opened up why they changed it. And he said, to paraphrase a little bit here, they felt like the court needed to be tested a little bit more and everything like that. And then it was like due to the slipping. The slipping was one of the concerns, and all 4 coaches, that are left, made the decision, and he made the decision to go along with it. So, real quick before we move on to the World Baseball Classic, give me some quick thoughts on the switch.
No. Yeah, I think I'll watch that Pat McAfee interview, but
yeah,
I wonder how they test it. My inclination is that they can't match what actually playing a competitive game of basketball
on
that court is until they actually play a competitive game of basketball, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
I know that the glass courts look really nice.
Yeah. They do.
And
It
I don't
did-
know,
it
part
did
of the
look
cool
nice.
thing about like, yeah, and like there's some, I'm not sure if they're glass, but there's some just like college stadiums in general that don't have like your regular hardwood layout that just look pretty to watch.
Yeah.
So like if they want to go in that direction, that's fine. But like this is the test. I kind of don't care what tests they come up with. It's just can you play a game? Are people slipping? And if not, then I think the Big 12 is making the right call, going back to the hardwood.
Yeah. So especially with the men's, they did the whole women's tournament and on that, with no issue. Now this is another thing too. I'm surprised they didn't switch it for the semis and final for the Big 12 championship in the women's side. Granted, I think they went through the whole women's tournament with that same court, and then they started the men's tournament, and there was more slipping, and that's when they changed it for the semis and the final. Granted, it's a whole different ball game with that. So, I mean, I'm glad they're making the decision. But yeah, that is something I would recommend watching. I'm sure Pat has the full interview on his channel as a segment that he does, the Pat McAfee show. So on YouTube. So if anyone wants to watch that and get more educated on the Big 12's decision, that is a good watch. I watched live on ESPN this morning. So I wanted to bring it on here and share it with you guys. So, Chris, do you have any thoughts on the Big 12's decision before I slide into World Baseball Classic?
Not particularly. I mean, I just think whatever's best for the safety of the players is what they should do in the immediate. I don't know much about what the situation was, but at the end of the day, I don't care what something looks like as long as players is safe and the quality of game is good. That's really what matters. And so if that switch needs to happen in order to ensure that, then that's exactly what should happen.
All right. So, quarterfinals, World Baseball Classic. It technically has already started with the Dominican and South Korea. I don't know if we have the live updated score. I can get that real quick. But obviously, the USA side of things has been a busy week ever since the game against Italy. So, first things first with that game. Mark DeRosa went on hot stove in the morning before that game, said they were automatically qualified. They're already qualified for the quarterfinals. Then he comes out with the lineup he comes out with. The whole game plays out the way it plays out. They almost make the rally. The rally, they had the rally caps on. PCA, shout out PCA for his performance in that game. To give him a chance, and then Judge strikes out, Gunner strikes out, Italy wins, and now you have to play the watch game and see if Italy either. Oh, thank you, Molly, for that update. Dominican up 5-0 right now in that first first quarterfinal. Sorry, in Miami. But going back to what I'm, basically did base this thing up. In the third inning, 1 out. Got it. Shout out to our technical producer, Molly. She does a great job. So like I said, the U.S. lose 8-6. Now they have to wait for Italy, Mexico, and have the scenarios. Now, if Italy won, they were going to qualify, and that's what happened. Italy blew out Mexico like the other night. So it was not even a contest in that game. But if Mexico was able to score 5 or more, which they didn't, score 5 or more, it would have been USA Mexico, and with Mexico winning the group. Now there was also a scenario of US, or if Italy would have scored, if it was a really high scoring game, US would have still won the group, and everything like that. Now Italy was always going to win the group if they won the game, but if Mexico won and it was a really high scoring game in the 9-inning game, USA would have been on the tougher side of this bracket, as you see it to the right, with Puerto Rico, Italy, but that Venezuela-Japan matchup, I feel is tougher than, the side that we got, the side that it is right now. So if you look at the bracket, the Dominicans up 5-0 against Korea. It's a safe bet that the Dominican Republic is going to go to the semis against the winner of USA Canada, which that's been a theme this year with, international play with the women's hockey and the men's hockey, and now we get into the WBC. It's fun. We're gonna have great matchup tonight starting at 8 on Fox. So quick thoughts on the USA stuff. I'm going to start with Chris.
Yeah, so when I heard Mark Rose's comments, I just shook my head. It's the type of comment that, like, in any other, like, if it was the actual MLB, would get him fired. You know what I mean? And he's since come out and talked about, oh, I didn't actually mean that, like, I really thought that we had clinched. It just, I thought that we were just done so well. We were playing. And I'm like, okay, so you're being caught over cocky. I don't. And then he tried to explain the lineup. Well, actually, I thought it was the best lineup we could produce, which is just complete. Yeah, just the whole thing just leaves such a bad taste in my mouth, But I also understand that the coaching in general for the World Baseball Classic is weird because it can't be anybody that's on an MLB team, which greatly shrinks. So it's the same type of thing as, like, when you're representing FIFA versus, you can't be attached to another team because it's its own, national job or whatever. So the pool is limited. I get that. But it concerns me that this is sort of how he's approached it already. I think the U.S. has enough talent to really not have him matter all that much, or at least should have enough talent for him, his blunders to not really matter that much. And hopefully this is a wake-up call for him and that the lineups make more sense moving forward and whatnot. But I think the whole thing was kind of strange, and it does leave some concerns for USA because USA coming into this was, if not the favorite, certainly in the top two along with Japan, right? Because they had the whole package with the pitching and offense and probably the best bullpen they've trotted out there as well. So they sort of had the full package. What they didn't have against Japan, last time they met up in the finals, and something that they had over the Dominican, was that pitching side. Now, there's some questions there, and it leaves some room for a team like the Dominican, who is obviously winning right now, and I think most people expected them to win tonight, and expect the matchup to be the USA versus the Dominican. I don't think you can count anything, but I think on paper the USA should pretty well handle Canada, right? And so we'll see how Dominican and USA match it up potentially, but I think there's some concerns there for USA, and I hope that they figure it out before they face the toughest of the teams, Dominican, potentially Japan if they get all the way there, or potentially a rematch against Italy if they can use sort of a Cinderella run here. They were always seen as a good team. I don't know if they were seen as an undefeated team the way they were out of that pool, so who knows, they can make a little bit of a run here, but it'll be interesting to see moving forward.
And Shay, real quick, my question to you is, before we get to the overall predictions of what's going to happen, do you think the pitching rotation was handled correctly with the USA? Because now Skeens against the Dominican, I would take that matchup 100 out of 100. Because if it is the Dominican in that electric lineup, you probably would rather have a Skeens than the McLean out there. So I'm going to ask you that real quick.
No, I agree with you 100%. I would have rather had that pitching matchup because I think I'll tell you this. Originally I was looking at like the lineups, and to me I was like, well, it looks like Dominican Republic has the best lineup. But now like I pulled it up on my phone just to make sure I'm seeing this right. So batting back to back.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper. Yeah. Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
Kyle Schwarber. Yeah. Alex Bregman. I think if that's what you're throwing against Italy, you might as well just roll with that and save your gunner for Dominican Republic.
Or against Canada. Not against Canada. Because that's the thing with Gunner. Gunner's been one of the hotter bats for the U.S. And the fact that it is, he's not starting at third because I noticed they start Bregman. I'm like,
Mhm.
obviously going to start Bobby Witt at short because that's he's I think he's the better defender of the two of them. But you
Yeah.
guys, I think I get why he starts Bregman because Bregman actually plays that position and Gunnar plays short. I get that, but in this situation, I'd rather have the hotter bat, and I'm an Orioles
Mhm.
fan, and I think Gunnar Henderson deserves to be in a starting lineup kind of situation. I know Bryce Terang's been well too, but if you wanted to train Gunnar at second, even put Gunnar at second for Terang. Just keep the hot bat in there. Granted, like I said, Terang's having a great WBC as well for the most part. So
Mhm.
it's a catch-22 with what he can do with these lineups, and
Mhm.
the defense matters. Look at the Keller throw against Italy in center field. From now, that was a pitcher playing defense, but that proved to be costly that era. So it is crazy. I agree with you, Shane. It's
Mhm.
dilemma for DeRosa, and I think you know schemes against the Dominican will gives U.S. the better chance to get to a final in that situation
Mhm.
if it schemes, and then the final you just have to have all hands on deck kind of
Yeah.
23. So, speaking of predictions, let's get into the predictions now. Granted, we didn't start the show before that 6:30 first pitch for the Dominican. As of right now, I think it is safe to say the Dominican Republic will win that game. So we're going to go ahead and pencil them in. Now, Korea can always make a comeback, and it'll be an electric comeback. But with the Dominican Republic pitching that they got and that lineup, I think they're playing right now. And so I have the Dominican in the semis. The 8 o'clock game tonight. I'm going to have the U.S. win that game against Canada. I like Canada's team. They're a really underrated team, and everything like that. But the U.S. should handle them and get to the semis. The other semi, I'm going to have Italy upset Puerto Rico. I just love the way this Italy team's playing right now. I think they're going to get a semifinal ride. Even though I like how Puerto Rico's playing, they're coming off, losing the can. I think how it worked was the Group A winner is playing the Group B runner up, and the runner up is playing the Group B winner. So I just think Puerto Rico coming off that loss to Canada might have affected them a little bit. So I think Italy will pull that one out and get to the semi. And the toughest one is going to be the late game on Sunday, or the late game tomorrow night. Venezuela, Japan. Tough game. Both teams have great lineups, and so Dominican's up 6-0 now. Thanks, yes, Dominican. Like I said, Dominican all the way through, man. So all the way. Well, for right now, I think I'm gonna go Japan, the defending champs, in that side, and then the final will be USA. I think Skeens pinches a gem against the Dominican and Japan. That's my final, and I think the U.S. pull. I think the U.S. find a way to pull it out. I'll let you guys run your all's picks real quick. Now, granted, we already have the Dominican in, so.
I mean, yeah, I don't have much to add, honestly. That's literally exactly the way I was going. I was obviously had Dominican. I had Dominican before we knew the score. I certainly have them now. USA, I think, will beat Canada. Japan, I actually think will do very well against Venezuela. I know those are two good teams, but I think Japan is one of the best, if not the best, in the in the tournament. So I think they win that fairly well. I think the closest game is actually going to be Italy Puerto Rico. I do think Italy pulls it off, but I wouldn't be shocked to see Puerto Rico pull it off if for no other reason than a similar reason as USA, where they might have some, you know, something to prove at this point after their last loss. A loss to a team that they maybe shouldn't have lost to, but I do think Italy pulls that off. I think Japan will beat Italy pretty handily if that happens. I think USA and Dominican is going to be maybe the most interesting matchup. I'm sticking by what I said at the very beginning, where I think it is USA, Japan, and USA ends up pulling it off because of the difference of the bullpen from last time to this time. So that's been my prediction. It's what I'm sticking with. But as I said before, I think the USA has some questions now, and so we'll see if they can work those out. But
Before you go, Shane, I just got this breaking tip from ESPN.
Okay.
Austin Matthews, Toronto Maple Leafs, torn MCL, out for the remainder.
Ooh,
That's big.
That's a big
That's
injury.
big.
That's a big injury in the NHL.
That's big.
I just wanted to get that on the show here. Hopefully I'll get it. I'll put it in the sports newsroom and while you're going, Shane, and we'll get that out on the site. So go ahead, Shane. I'll go ahead and do that.
I mean, I don't disagree greatly with a lot of what you guys have said. I think that like the Puerto Rico Italy matchup, I think the winner of that loses to Japan next round. So it'll be interesting to see who wins that, but I think they might be destined for a loss afterwards. I don't want to sound unpatriotic. I think Dominican is beating us. That being said,
possibility. I agree with the possibility. I think the team that has the most possible chance to beat us is the beat us is the Dominican. I think I think we're good on the updates, Molly. If you can hear me. But so for right now, I think that I agree with where you're going with the premise. Dominican. I just think Paul, with more pitches, because you get more pitches in each round, you can throw, because there was a pitch count limit in the first couple of rounds and stuff like that. I think in the semis and the final, you get a more leeway, if you get what I'm saying. And I think Paul would get a longer leash, and I know that lineup is nasty, but I know Paul Skeens is nasty too. So that's
where my biggest difference stands is the pitching. Dominican doesn't have quite the same pitching to match up, and that's where I've been all you know what I mean. I think that's the difference, but it would not shock me. I agree with you, Shane, if the Dominican upset us. So
right, you're right about the pitch.
Yeah,
I guess I'm just gonna stick with Dominican because I mean I think the winner of Dominican USA wins it all.
Yeah.
So it's either one or two. And like I hear what you're saying about the pitching, but the thing about I also agree with Chris saying that we have a better bullpen. But to get to your bullpen, they might give Paul a longer leash, which in most cases you think great, more Paul pitching is great, but then it's like it's just more times that he has to throw to Soto and Guerrero. And so I like it could
Tatis and all of them. I know I get what Julio.
So like
we'll go through 3 times.
Yeah, I will say if the Dominican scores in the first 4 innings, we're in trouble. If we can go through those 4 innings fine, then I think we would.
Yeah,
that's my prediction there. So and then I think whoever wins that probably beats Japan in the final. It'll be a great game either way to see Dominican versus USA if they make it. And also even if we lose to Dominican, I don't think it's an excuse to not putting your best lineup possible for DeRocha because even if they're you still want to give your guys the best chance. So,
yeah, exactly. Agreed. Exactly. All right, we're gonna slide into this real quick. Now we're gonna make it quick, quicker than I was hoping for, because it is a little bit deeper show this week than the last time I hosted. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. So the WNBA, CBA, we had a soft deadline for the 10th. They've been going through negotiations trying to get this done, as we all know, as we've been tracking on the show and everything like that. The season's about to start in May, and they still haven't done the expansion draft for the 2 new franchises. They haven't done free agency. They haven't done the draft. I mean, obviously the draft would have been done in April anyway, but they haven't done like the off season, and it's getting closer and closer and closer to time. And this is concerning because the WNBA has been great, and we're in women's history. March is Women's Month. And everything like that. Speaking of that, tune in to Tuesday for the sports, the Totally Apex Media podcast for the sports highlight selection of of that. So we'll put up a poll on this YouTube on the community tab on the YouTube channel to vote on that and everything like that. I'll give my shout outs. As I had on Don Staley and Alea Deladon, but we'll do whoever you want to vote for. So go ahead. When we put that on the community tab and everything like that, go ahead and vote for it, and me and Andrew will do that. But with this, the CBA, it's quick and easy, and it's not real substantial update like it's done or it's not going to get done yet. It's them in meetings in Manhattan right now trying to get it done. Be detrimental to the league. Go ahead real quick with that.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, yeah, I think I was just gonna say it's very detrimental. I think the WNBA had made so many strides recently with gaining in popularity and gaining recognition and gaining notoriety, and in part that's why the CBA is such a push right now, because obviously the players are gonna want more recognition for what they're bringing, but I just think this would be the worst possible time for the WNBA to have any sort of delay in anything, right when they're gaining some of the most momentum they've had ever as a league. I think it would be really tragic if they ended up losing time or delaying things for whatever reason. I think it would hurt all the momentum and all the growth they've gained recently, and it would be such a shame.
Yeah. Shane, any other thoughts on that real quick before we get to the NFL?
I would just add that my heart goes out to the front offices of everyone in the WNBA, because it is so difficult to wait on free agency.
Yeah.
When you have two expansion teams, and I don't think has any sport done two at the same time. I feel like it's always been one and then one.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at like.
I know I can't remember early 2000s when they did the Grizzlies, like when they added the Grizzlies, but I don't think any other one did a couple at the same. Maybe the Texans and Jags but the Jags came out before the Texans. So yeah, this is probably the first time really they added two at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. So if you think about it, so those are picks that those teams are getting, and every other team is trying to figure out, like, because they haven't done free agency, so they got to think about trade assets. They got to think about who the expansion teams are getting. They got to think about new players coming in. It's all a mess, and they're going to have to do in a month and a half what most other professional sports do in a span of like 3 months. So it's going to be really tough for them.
It is tough. It's going to be tough whatever happens with the season. But moving on to the big thing for the week is, NFL free agency started, and we have several signings to go over here. My first one is the one pictured here, the New Orleans running back situation. Travis Etienne now, as he educated the New Orleans media, that's how the Louisiana people say it. That's how we will say it on here. Travis Etienne Jr. Going to be probably a key asset for that New Orleans running backfield. The backfield. How does that mean for Alvin Kamara? So go ahead, whoever wants to start with that.
I feel like it means that the only reason why you make this move is you're planning on cutting back Kamara's snaps.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna sit up there and be like, well, I know exactly why they made this move, because I'm not sure. It's kind of in a rough spot for both. I don't think Kamara looked like he was done, producing at a high level last season.
Right.
But they went out and signed him. So they clearly think that there's a spot for him to play. I would think they're probably surprised that they got him, because he played very well for the Jags last year. Yeah. I don't understand what this means for the Jags, because Bashal Tutin, who I'm assuming gets the starting role now, unless something happens.
Yeah.
Definitely signs of growth, like signs of potential. But I wasn't like, oh, he can be the starter.
Yeah.
So and then if you're somewhere in a dynasty fantasy league and you have Kamara, my heart goes out to you.
Yeah, that's dynasty owners. Because here's the thing: did the Saints trade him, Chris? Did the Saints trade Alvin Kamara in this situation?
That's a fantastic question. I don't think they will. I think they plan on running it with both of them. Should they? I mean, I guess it depends on what's out there available for them. But I think we're going to see more and more teams that are going with the Detroit model, where you have two legitimate starting running back players with starting capabilities, and do sort of a dual threat situation. That's sort of what I see, potentially New Orleans doing. And I think in a way they're hedging their bets in case, Kamara isn't fully right or he gets hurt again. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, I think that they keep both of them and hope that, if one goes wrong, the other doesn't. If they're both doing great, that's a great problem to have.
Yep. I agree with what y'all said on that, because I think ETN brings a different dynamic than Kamara did to New Orleans, and he's a hometown kid, so he's probably ready for he's a home state, he's from Louisiana, so he's probably ready for this role in New Orleans, and it'd be interesting what he does in the Kellen Moore offense. How they use the running backs out of the backfield in the pass game and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to ETN as an option in fantasy football this upcoming season. And the Kamara thing, it's going to be tough, whatever they do with Kamara. I don't know what they can get for Kamara. I think he's still a great running back in value. But as an Eagles fan, it's hard to see what they're doing to A.J. Brown right now. But I think if A.J. Brown gets traded, what is the value there? It's hard to tell with a lot of these like 28, 29-year-old guys that play like positions like especially running back, what the value is going to be. So to more running back signings here, I'm just going to make that transition real quick to running back signings. The Bucs signed Kenny Gainwell, Cardinals signed Tyler Algier, Steelers signed Dottle. The Lions signed Pacheco, and the Commanders side, Rashad White and Okonkwo. Those signings right there, what is the best one? And I'll start with Chris on this.
I'm not sure if this is the best one, as much as it's the one that intrigues me the most. It's Isaiah Pacheco to Detroit, sort of filling that David Montgomery role that was there. I mean, I don't know if they just plan on giving the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs and having Pacheco be a legitimate backup, or if they plan on doing some sort of dual threat like they have been, but I'm really intrigued to see, because we forget how good Pacheco was for Kansas City before his injury. And obviously, the last couple of years, he hasn't been the same guy, but I'd be very interested to see with a strong offensive line, what he could be again. And so I'm thoroughly intrigued by that signing, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it.
Yep. Shane, real quick on those those few signings there. What's the most intriguing one for fantasy for you?
Oh, the most intriguing one for fantasy, I think, is definitely Dowdle to the Steelers. Like football wise, I feel like he fits the Steelers more. Not that every Steelers player has to be like a real grit, like I eat chunky soup type of guy.
Yeah.
But that's Dowdle. I don't know whether he start. I think he might start. I could see him start and then have Jalen
Warren.
What's his face? Jalen Warren be like the third down guy, sorta. Dowdle will obviously be the goal line guy. In terms of fantasy, that split might not be good. I think that people in redraft should still definitely take a look at Dowdle. It'll happen anyways because he had 200-yard games last season. So I think people are gonna be. What I think is gonna happen is like people are gonna show up to the draft in August and they're gonna be. No one's gonna know who I'm gonna pick for my running back, and then they're gonna be like, Oh, Rico Dowdle? Yeah, we know. But what I was saying about like I'm sorry for anyone in a dynasty that owns Kamara.
Yeah.
Anyone who's in a dynasty that owns Chuba Hubbard, I'm happy for you. Bless you. You're great. You're set to go.
Yeah, exactly. Quickly, I'm gonna give my picks. I like the Rashad White sighting, reuniting with Jane Daniels. Because they were teammates at Arizona State together. I like that. He teased it. It happened. So I do like that. I'm an Eagles fan, but I have to give props to Washington in that sense. They got a running back that is motivated to be there and make plays. And then I do like the Bucs replacing him with Gainwell. Be that third down back for Irving and everything like that. I do like that replacement. I know we're going to get into it, the next topic here in a few minutes or a little bit here, but Kenny Gainwell can give him some production out of the backfield receiving wise. And as an Eagles fan, I just know Kenny Gainwell is going to. He produced well for Pittsburgh last year. He produced well in Philly. He's just a great football player. So I like that signing. The two y'all said are definitely the top options and the top signings. Pacheco, especially replacing that Montgomery role in Detroit, and the Dowdle is going to be the lead, probably the best fantasy option out of all of these signings, I think. But moving on to the Niners signing wide receiver Mike Evans. Speaking of the Bucs, I have to tip a cap, pour a drink, pour a the ceremonial, whatever you want to call it, down the grave. Mike Evans is gone. I thought he was going to be a long time, all-time Buck, career time, one-team Buccaneer. Unfortunately, that is not the case. And unfortunately for Mike Evans, his hamstring, he goes to the substation in San Francisco. Thoughts on that real quick from both of y'all?
I'll just go quick. Ahead. It's going to feel so weird. Like I could talk analytically about it, but it just watching like Evans in a non-Tampa Bay jersey is going to be weird. Yeah. I think it's also weird in terms of like what the front office for San Francisco is trying to do, because I think they still have that Brandon Ayuk contract.
They do.
So
he's probably going to be released, maybe, but who knows? Who knows?
I think the only way this signing makes sense is if Ayuk gets released, because it doesn't make any sense to pay Evans to work at subway line, to also pay Ayuk, and then you're still using Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall as like your sort of future.
Well, Jennings is a free agent, so Jennings.
He might be good. Maybe this is my hubris because I would resign Jennings.
Yeah.
They could not, but then like if they don't resign Jennings and they're like, it's okay, we got Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Is he gonna be able to give you that production? Part of me kind of thinks like maybe he could, because he's just got that dog in him, but like it's just gonna be weird watching him not in Tampa Bay.
Chris, go ahead and get your Mike Evans thoughts. I know you wanted to. You were muted.
I just find it incredibly entertaining that the team with the biggest injury history right now, and the literal, joke about being built next to, the site that they're next to, signs Mike Evans of all wide receivers to sign. I just either that's going to make the whole universe erupt and the 49ers will be the healthiest team in the league next year, or the entire team is going to be carted off the field in stretchers and they're going to be playing their fans. I don't know. I feel like it just, but in terms of pure production standpoint, Evans, even with his injuries, is about as automatic as you can get. So I could see the appeal for the 49ers, especially with the lack of consistency they have. And obviously with Ayuk being, having full meltdown mode and everything else that's going on there, I think having at least a stable veteran presence that's pretty automatic in his talent and what he's going to do for you, whether or not he's healthy or not is obviously a question, but when he's on the field is about as automatic as you get. I think that's smart for the 49ers, honestly. I think it's something they need on the wide receiver side. I think obviously they have on the running back side, they've got McCaffrey, so if they can have um a little bit of balance there, I think that would be good. But I just do find something incredibly comical about the whole thing, and that's why I was laughing. So
So I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all talk about Dobbs. I know y'all Patriots fans, are a little excited about Dobbs' potential with Drake May, but at the same time, I don't like. Does that put y'all out of the AJ Brown sweepstakes? So I'll let y'all do that out real quick.
Chris, you go first.
Okay, so here's my thoughts on Romeo Dobbs. I think it's a great signing. I love it. I do not think it can be the only wide receiver we get. I see Romeo Dobbs as a slightly better version of Jacoby Myers, who, in my opinion, is not a number one. I don't see Romeo Dobbs as a number one. I see him as either a solid, a very good 2, or a solid 1B to somebody else's 1A. And so I think if they're relying on him to be their number one, I don't think that's enough. I love his potential with May. I think he's a perfect fit for May. I love that connection. I totally understand why they did it. And I do think they need to do one more move, whether that means drafting a wide receiver, whether that means signing another wide receiver, maybe waiting for a guy like Ayuk to be cut and potentially signing him, whether that means trading for an AJ Brown, obviously isn't happening anymore, or maybe, the rumors about Brian Thomas Jr., I don't think they're real. I can't imagine the Jaguars actually trading him. But if for some reason they did, something like that would be cool. I do think they need another piece there, but as for pure fit with May, I think Romeo Dobbs is about the best you could have gotten in free agency for pure fit wise.
Yeah. Shane, do you echo the same thoughts about Dobbs, or are you going to go a little bit different direction with that?
So a little bit, but I agree with Chris that we should sign another wide receiver. I agree with him there. I don't know if we will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because I'm wondering. What I'm wondering is that they want to make Kayshon Boutte the number one, because if you look at like his split between Diggs last season, we at least made it to the Super Bowl with sort of having Kayshon Boutte be our long ball, get a first down guy, and Diggs sort of playing a secondary role, and so we lose Diggs and we get Dobbs, and I'm thinking, well, Dobbs is used to being a number 2 to Jalen Reed, so maybe that's why the signing makes sense. Is that like, well, okay, we'll throw to you if you're open, but we're focusing on Boutte. Yeah. But yeah, if this was like a Madden situation, I'm playing franchise, I'm getting another receiver. So that's how I feel. Yeah.
So I would if I were in y'all's shoes, I would probably say the same thing. You need another receiver. That can't be your only receiver upgrade. In Romeo Dobbs. I like Dobbs' game, and I think he'll fit well with that scheme in New England and that McDaniel scheme. I think he'll fit well. But I just don't see Dobbs being that guy that elevates that passing game more, than it was in 25. I'm gonna move on to the Goddard stuff, and I'm just gonna talk about the Goddard stuff real quick, because it is a weird situation in Philly right now with that Goddard. Tenure. So it was initially extended to today, and then now it's extended to Monday, because they're trying to work out the negotiations. And I think from what Mike Garafolo told one of the Philly shows this morning, it is tied with the AJ Brown stuff a little bit here. They're trying to figure out the cap situation with AJ Brown, and they're trying to figure out the cap situation with Goddard. Now, it could mean both things happen. It can mean one or the other can happen, but something's going to happen with that within the next few days here. We're going to have the big bomb, and I'm probably going to be either sad about AJ Brown leaving to either the Patriots or Rams, because that's what came out today with the AJ Brown stuff, is the Rams were targeting Brown. I would be PO'd. if Howie was dumb enough to trade him to an NFC contender, and that NFC contender is the contender that you have been, rivals with the last few years in the Los Angeles Rams. I would not do it unless you get that 13th pick, a combination of the either or, the 13th pick and Jared Verse, or the 13th pick and one of the receivers, and it's not Devontae Adams. Okay, it is Mr. Nakua. You have to give you have to win that trade if you're Howie Rose and you trade them the MC West in that Rams. You have to win the deal because you can't lose the deal because the Rams would be unstoppable in the NFC if that happens. My point being, I don't think he trades them to the Rams. I think he's using the Rams as leverage with that 13th pick to make the Patriots, give up more. So we'll see what the AJ Brown and Dallas Goedert stuff is. I hope they re-sign Goddard. If it does mean they're trading AJ, if AJ wants out, I am in the camp that AJ still likes his teammates, and I just and everything like that. I don't think it's a bad relationship with the quarterback. I don't think it's I don't think it's a bad relationship. I think I don't know if he's frustrated with Sirianni at this point, or it might. I think that's what I'm leaning towards. I think it's frustration with the head coach at this point. If he wants out. Now he still hasn't said he's wanted out like Max Crosby did and a couple others have done. He has not said he's wanted out of Philly. It's all these insiders like Diana Rossini, Adam Schefter, Mike Garafolo, so forth and so forth. I've been, and if Howie is putting it out there, is a good chance it could happen. But you never know. And I want AJ Brown to stay. I want Dallas Goedert to come back. I want these guys back on this offense with Sean Mannion. I do. But at the same time, you just never know what's going to happen. And, if AJ Brown's time's up in Philly and he had a successful career in Philly, if he goes to the Pats, that's his childhood team right there. So I won't be mad if he goes to New England. That's his childhood team. He's a Pats fan. We all seen the evidence, but I'd rather him stay in Philly. That's my piece on that. We'll probably have more AJ Brown stuff, throughout the rest of the offseason because I don't think it dies yet. The AJ Brown stuff dies into after June 1st at this point. So we'll be talking about it periodically until June. Other things on the docket for this, this first slide of NFL free agency, we got a lot. I'm just going to speed through some of this stuff here. I mean, QB, best QB probably is going to be Kyler to Minnesota. I don't know if y'all, I think Willis is going to be get the most playing time, but I think Murray to Minnesota could give McCarthy a running for his money at that starting job. Y'all's thoughts quick on the quarterbacks.
The loser is Atlanta.
Yeah.
I just think just respectfully, I know Tua's had it tough in the league with all the concussions and whatnot, but
yep.
I don't know if he's brought in to start, it's a downgrade, and if he's brought in for a competition piece for Michael Penix Jr., which makes sense.
Yeah,
I feel like the better competition would have been Murray.
Yeah.
So, in terms of Miami, I like Willis better, but yeah, I don't know what's happening there.
Yeah. Chris, do you have any thoughts on the quarterbacks before? I
love the Malik Willis signing. I've been a fan of him since he was in Tennessee, and I had always hoped I felt like he got a bit of a raw deal there, never really getting the opportunity per se there. I loved to see him get some opportunity in Green Bay and show his true potential. So I'm excited for him for Miami. I hope that it works out. I hope it doesn't work out too much because they're obviously the Pats competition, but I hope he does well there. I agree that there's some concern there with Tua to Atlanta. To play devil's advocate there, I can see Atlanta signing him as a pure backup, as a lefty backup, with Penix Jr. being a lefty, and it just helps, having the two lefties. That being said, having two very injury-prone lefties,
Yeah, it's
I'm not sure that's the best plan in the world, but I'm trying to play a little bit of devil's advocate there for them. And then I think Kyler Murray is very interesting for the Vikings because it could be a very similar situation as they had a couple years ago with Sam Darnold. JJ McCarthy. It'll be interesting. I don't think he has that automatically locked up, and I'm very interested to see, what happens there, if there ends up a bit of a competition, if they ultimately give it to Kyler, and if he could sort of revive his career a little bit there, and because the Vikings certainly have potential, so that'll be very interesting.
And then the interesting part about the Colts moves real quick with this, I'm just going to say this. They re-sign Pierce. They trade Pittman. And we'll get to the Pittman trade in a little bit. And then Daniel Jones turns out that massive, Darnold-like contract and wanted almost 50 a year, but gets a 2-year, $88 billion extension instead. $60 million guaranteed. I think the Colts are taking a risk with the Achilles injury with Daniel Jones a little bit here, and it's I don't know if they're hoping he comes back to what he was, last year, and everything like that. So I just, at the same time, for me, I think the Colts are in a weird spot. So that being said, we're going to go on to the more stuff with free agency, and we're going to go into. We talked about the Raiders. Crosby Ravens backed up because it broke right at the beginning of the podcast last week, or on Tuesday. Sorry, on Tuesday, not last week. Tuesday's show. Me and Andrew talked about that a little bit. We'll get into it more here because that is the big story out of all of these on this slide. If y'all want to highlight one of the other ones, go ahead. But I'm mainly focused on the Crosby stuff because the Crosby stuff is big because the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know what the cost of their general manager. Andrew is not here. Okay, I will slander the Ravens He's not here. The Costa is a slime GM right now. I want to say slime ball, but I don't know if that will get me in trouble. But he is one of those general managers you don't trust right now because he backs out of trades. Because I get it. I get why they did it. The physical, I get it. Max Crosby. But he also tried to stink the Eagles with the Jair Alexander deal. The only way the Eagles won that trade or got relief was Jair paid the Eagles and they got some cap relief because he retired.
And the Ravens also did this with back in 2018. I forget who it was, but there was a wide receiver situation too, wasn't there, where they did a trade and then they backed out of it and immediately signed a different wide receiver. I feel like they just get cold feet or they see the world's reaction to their trades and then they're like, oh, just kidding, I don't like that anymore. And it just I don't.
This Max Crosby one was a medical one. Unlike that one that you're explaining. But I know.
But even still, I mean, and I get it. Maybe something different popped up in the maybe. But I mean, at the end of the day, you were trading for a guy that had an injury that everybody knew about that wouldn't be back until at least May or June. It's not like you were trading for somebody that everybody thought was completely healthy and then you discovered something. You know what I mean? So even there, it's like
we're going into it.
Exactly.
You knew the situation. No, but look at and he had the team, his doctor tell you what was going on, and his doctor, but no, the team doctor's like 3 years down the road, his knee is gonna be, his knee ain't gonna be the same 3 years down the road. So we're worried about the future with this. We're gonna back out. We're gonna send you back to Vegas, and now they're probably not gonna trade him. He's gonna stay in Vegas. Good for the Raiders getting him, staying in Vegas. I'm glad the Ravens found an answer. I'll give a positive spin for Andrew's sake. So he doesn't ream me next week, but he's going to ream me a little bit when he comes back. I don't care. That is my opinion. That is my opinion. DaCosta sucks, okay? He sucks as a general manager integrity-wise. He is terrible. He's a great general manager getting talent. He just got Henderson for a good deal.
Yeah.
I get that. But integrity of a GM – trying to slime ball his way through these deals,
Well, and the other part that's not really factored in here that's interesting too,
Yep.
that's tough for the Raiders is, shifting some of that cap space and
Yeah.
they made a lot of signings,
They made a lot
and
of
spent some money, but
Yep.
assuming this trade went through.
True.
And now that shifts. So what are they going to do
What are
with
they
their
gonna do
cap?
with that?
I mean, that's another factor that doesn't always get brought up, but it kind of, stinks for them too to now have to sort of be like, well, now what do we do and try to figure that out.
Yeah, so on here, the Raiders, the last slide, they signed Naylor. They signed Taron Johnson on here. They traded for Taron Johnson on here. They signed Kobe Dean. They signed Quay Walker. They made all these moves. That trade is going through. And that goes back to what I said about DaCosta. Just bruh, if you get cold feet on something, you probably shouldn't do it in the first place. Okay, you shouldn't have done it in the first place. I get the vision that you were going for, having Max and Trey. That was their vision, is having both of those guys, not just one of them. And now you get probably the worst of the two of them. Now, granted, Trey Henderson's a great player, and he's going to be motivated, especially now with that contract he just got, to sack Joe Burrow as many times in those 2 games as he can, because if he wants to stick it to Cincinnati, that is going to happen. He's going to be motivated. And I'm being passionate on this segment. I'm being more passionate about it. Granted, I probably wouldn't have been this passionate about it if Andrew was with me tonight. But I'm being passionate about it because I know I have the leeway to be passionate about it because I'm the main host. And I'm the main host of the show tonight. Now, granted, I'll probably apologize to Andrew when we talk again next week. But to keep the relationship going. But at the same time, that is my full opinion on DaCosta.
Definitely.
So with that being said, any other trade of the trades on here y'all want to highlight real quick?
Yeah, super quickly. I want to jump into the Geno Smith trade just because, I mean, for so many different reasons, it just baffles my mind. The Jets have found so much money this offseason. They made some pretty solid signings, and they can't. I don't know why they cannot. They insist on not finding a quarterback. And Geno Smith going back to the place where he struggled so much. Granted, I mean, they didn't fully give him, whatever. The Jets are the Jets. But I don't see this making sense for anybody. I mean, I get Geno Smith didn't really have a say. He got traded. It's not like he said, oh, yeah, please let me go back to the Jets. But with all the money that the Jets are spending, it could have been competitive. Why on earth did they go after Geno Smith of all people? I just don't get it. It makes no sense to me. And it's such a Jets being the Jets moment that I can't help but laugh,
Yeah.
It baffles my mind. It really does.
And then also, I should have asked this question when I was talking about the Ravens. Should the tampering period be abolished? Should the NFL get abolished? I agree with y'all there. I think it should be like free agency starts on the first day of the tampering period. It should not be, that's how I think it should be. I think the tampering period is pointless. I get the moratorium for the NBA, to switch sports. It's similar to what this tampering period is, but they actually, this deals get done, I think, with the moratorium. You know what I mean? They get done. They don't get done here until the league year. They should just abolish it at this point. It is crazy. I don't think any other trade on here other than the Gary trade to Dallas to you replaced Micah with Kenny Clark and Rashad Gary. Good job, Dallas. Good job. Good for you. Good for you. I'm gonna give you a small clap, Dallas Cowboys. I'll give you a small clap for that because they're good players, but they're not Michael Parsons. So, but anyway, moving on to the final few signings here of tampering period and free agency on here. I'm like we highlighted with the Raiders stuff. They spent over $281.5 million in free agency. Granted, they thought they had all that money because of the max. It goes back to overall theme. DaCosta. Get your act together. But anyway, with that being said, I think the Raiders made some great signings, like especially the two linebacker signings in Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean. They reshaped that linebacking core really easily with two great studs. Like Quay Walker was probably the Packers' best player last year on defense, other than Michael Parsons. And Nakobe Dean was a leader on the Eagles. When he came back, he was playing phenomenal from his patella injury. And he was playing phenomenal football. And it sucks to lose Nakobe Dean, obviously. And as an Eagles fan, I wish, but I knew the signs were there when we drafted Jihad Campbell with the first-round pick last year. I knew this was there. We were going to probably lose Nakobe. I'm glad it wasn't the Cowboys. The Cowboys offered Dean a similar offer to what the Raiders offered them, and I'm glad Nakobe Dean is a Raider and not a Cowboy, because that means he's a loyal Eagle. A loyal Philadelphia Eagle. I appreciate that, sir. So anyway, a couple other ones too. The Browns. The Browns made some good moves. Zion Johnson, Quincy Williams, really good signings for them as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and highlight my last one here, and I'll let y'all go. The Texans getting Reed Blankenship and Braden Smith. First, I'm going to go Braden Smith, and I'll go in on the Blankenship stuff, because dang it. That's all. That's how I'm going to lead into it. Braden Smith is a good tackle for the Texans. I think that's a good replacement. Hurts the division rival a little bit. I think that's going to be a good signing for them to improve their O-line and, help C.J. Stroud out. But the Reed Blankenship signing, that Texans secondary with Stingley, Bullock, Petrie in the nickel, and they needed a safety, and they just got their safety. The Reed Blankenship is an underrated safety in this league, and I was hoping Philly was going to re-sign him. And the Texans only signed him for $8.25 million. And I was like, oh, how he didn't match that? Is he going to get one of these other safeties that we like, a Gardner Johnson or a Brisker? And the Eagles are in a safety trouble right now, but the Texans are not. That secondary was great last year, and it's going to be great this year because of Reed's leadership in that secondary. I think Reed's going to bring something to that team that people thought Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was going to bring from the Eagles. I think Reed's going to be the guy that stabilizes that back end in the safeties. So I'm going to let y'all go for a little bit, and give me some more signings real quick that y'all liked out of these out of the list here.
Can I give you a signing that I don't like?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Do that too.
All right.
Do that too. Either way.
I'm hesitant because it does kind of connect to DaCosta with the Ravens in a bit.
Yeah.
But I feel bad for the Bengals.
Yep.
Just because now, actually, no. So here's the thing. What you're looking at, right, where they signed Mafe and Cook and Allen.
Yeah.
Mafe, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That does not replace what you are losing with Trey Hendrickson.
No.
And the fact that they were messing around with Crosby or entertaining the farce that he was going to be on the team, gave the Bengals more time to talk to Hendrickson.
Yeah.
I would have gave him a Camaro. I would have gave him a Lamborghini. Whatever he wants.
Yeah.
The only way that defense is saved is you keep Hendrickson and you get the other two players, Cook and Allen, to play with Hendrickson, not without him.
Yeah.
And in terms of fantasy, I would not be surprised if the Bengals were a defense that players could stream and expose again and again, because it's a bad defense that just lost their best edge rusher. So the fact that the Ravens dipping in to get him is kind of like, as scummy as it may seem, it's also like, well, you had all this time to renegotiate with Hendrickson, and you did not give him what he wanted, clearly.
Yeah.
So, and now your in-division rival has him. Your in-division rival, which has Lamar Jackson, that might be going back to win the division again. So, I'm done. Yeah.
Chris, go ahead and give me your best and worst signing out of the ones here.
Yeah. So, I would just quickly say for the Pats, for example, I love everybody they signed. My issue is who they haven't.
Yeah.
I still don't see what the offensive line arguably single handedly cost them the Super Bowl in
Yeah.
reality, and I just don't know why they haven't even remotely. I mean, yes, they got Vera Tucker, I get that, and they traded out a different offensive lineman, and maybe they're counting on some health and some improvement there, but I don't get why they didn't do it. So I guess in my way, a loser is the Pats offensive line. I just don't get why the biggest question mark for them still hasn't been addressed at
Yeah.
all. Low key, I think the Commanders have had a really good free agency period
Yeah.
overall. I like a lot of what they've done, and Jaden Daniels will hopefully come back healthy and ready to go. And I mean, we forget that this team was, last year was a struggle for them, obviously, because Daniels was hurt and there was some other
Yeah.
injuries, but they really shored a lot of that up this year. And they were, just one game away from the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and I think they could get back there again. And I think they get forgotten about a little bit because people sort of see them as almost like a one and done team. And I don't think people should see them that way. And I love pretty much their entire offseason. I think they've done a great job filling a lot of needs that they had.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know as an Eagles fan, I'm not supposed to agree with that. But I kind of agree with that a little bit. As a guy from Virginia, a little bit too. Like a lot of my friends around here are Washington fans, so they're having a fun season. So Molly, all right. So U.S. is up in the U.S. Canada game right now. So and Molly's like,
Soccer.
I want Canada to win. Molly's like, I want Canada to win. So
I was gonna say, can I just really quickly just say there is that I think one of the best things that ever happened in a weird way was us losing to Italy because of the fact we got the Canada matchup.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like it just we like fell butt backwards into that placement, and I think
we fell backwards into a little bit of a better matchup. But anyway, it's crazy. What was I going to say? My signing here, I want to. Yeah, no, you're good, Molly. You're good. I was just teasing you a little bit. What I want to say is CJGJ to the Bills is a good signing. I know I said what I said about him and the Texans last year, but he was good on the Bears, and obviously he's the two times he was Philly, they're both Super Bowl appearances. So that's what he can bring to a defense, and I still want to say the Bills, have a Super Bowl window, and I think them bringing a Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is a great addition to that chance. Mm-hmm. Also, the Seahawks and what they're doing, letting Kenneth Walker go, as we talked about on Tuesday, and letting Kobe Bryant go, and letting all these young, guys go with the cap they had. They had a lot of cap. And we talked like Jacob brought it up on this podcast. They had a lot of cap space and they had an opportunity to repeat, and they let their top talent go.
I know. I'm shocked by what they're doing.
It is crazy to me that the Seahawks aren't re-signing a couple of these guys. They didn't re-sign Kobe Bryant. Granted, the weak Woolen stuff, I knew that wasn't going to happen. I knew they were going to let him walk. Granted, Philly likes to take chances on these guys, like a Rick Woolen, and normally it works out. They have like a 50-50 record when it comes to these corners. Does anyone remember Nnamdi Asomugha? Does anyone remember Nnamdi Asomugha? For those that don't, he was great on the Raiders, and he was mostly and then he comes to Philly, and the 2011 Dream Team, Andy's worst team, and Andy's gone because of Nnamdi Asomugha. So let me get that out of the way. I think week one is not going to be a Nnamdi Asomugha. Okay, I think he's going to be a great addition to the Eagles secondary. I just hope his tackling gets better because he won't get playing time if he doesn't tackle. I tell you that right now. Big likes his corners to tackle the football. That's why Quignon and Cooper DeJean were all pros last year, because they know how to tackle. They know how to play in big scheme. And I just hope stops with the taunting, stops with the, and I talked about it on Tuesday. I just wanted to get more on week 1 because I brought up the Seahawks. I like the Steelers getting Brisker as well. That's another good one. Jawan Brisker. Shout out my friend Chuck, who's in the Air Force. He's a huge Pittsburgh sports fan. Likes his Pirates, likes his Steelers. So I want to shout out. Good offseason what they've been doing so far, and everything like that. But for me, I think the biggest loser in this offseason, other than the Seahawks, is probably – it's all good, Jerry. You're doing the wind. I don't blame you. The wind has been crazy today and all over the nation. But anyway, biggest loser other than the Seahawks for me, I think it might be the Chiefs, even though they got Kenneth Walker, because they lost McDuffie and they lost Watson. They lost corners. I know. Now, does that sign point to that 10th pick being one of the corners in this draft class? Probably. You know what I mean? I think they get the corner with the 10th pick. But at the same time, with that, I just don't know, man. I just don't know with these Chiefs. I just don't know what mode we're going with in that direction on that defense. It puts pressure on the offense again to carrying them like they did in 22 against the Eagles and in 19. I think 23 Super Bowl was the, in 24 trips, those 2 trips, and with the win against the Niners and the trip and the loss, the devastating loss against Philly was the defense, more so than the offense. But now they have to be back to those electric Mahomes type offenses again, and the pressure's on that because you lost your 2 corners. Granted, the Rams got them, both those corners, and I think I remember the last time those corners played the Eagles. Yeah, I'd say the Colts too, Jerry. I could say the Colts, but going back to my point, I remember the last time the Eagles played those 2 corners. Let's see. The last 2 games against McDuffie and Watson. Let's see. A win in the regular season at Arrowhead this last year. Granted, it wasn't a high-scoring game, but the Super Bowl in New Orleans in a dome where the Rams play in a dome was a blowout, 40-22, but it was like 34-0, shellacking with those 2 corners as the target. So I am not impressed with the Rams getting those 2 corners. Granted, those 2 corners are a great corner, or McDuffie's a great corner. Watson is okay at best, but I'm just saying if we have our full assortment of weapons, I'm not worried about McDuffie and Watson for the Rams. Granted, I got my spiel out of the way of diminishing other team signings by praising the Eagles. That's what I'm going to do here. I'm thinking about it like that. That's what I'm going to do. But I think the Rams are good. They're going to be one of the top contenders in the NFC. It's no way around it. Even whatever they do in the offseason, and I think they're a winner, but they're a slight winner because I still see issues with McDuffie covering guys like A.J. Brown, tall, lanky receivers, press coverage. McDuffie has had trouble with that in his career. So, and I respect McDuffie's game. He's an all-pro. So when the Rams got him, I was like, oh, okay. They're going for it. They want to beat Seattle. They want to beat Philly. They want to beat the Niners. Those are the teams that they're targeting.
And the secondary is really what they needed. That was the big missing piece. So.
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing there. So any other thoughts from you guys before we get to the outros and stuff?
I will say, because Jerry mentioned the Colts, this is funny to me. I know that Daniel Jones had a great season last season. I guarantee you, though, the memory of what he did with the Giants is still fresh in the Colts' mind. Yep. They know he could regress to that very easily, and he is coming back from an injury.
Yep.
That being said, that is wicked funny that he goes to the office like, nah, I need more money than Stafford.
Yeah. I need Matt Stafford money. I need Dak Prescott money. I need all this money, man, for a guy.
The more these happen, the more scared I get for when May comes up for his contract, and I'm like, if Daniel Jones can get 50 million a year, potential 45, whatever it breaks down to,
Yep.
million a year. Like, what it just, I'm so scared. We're going to be looking at 90 million a year contracts for some of these quarterbacks at this point.
That Drake contract's going to be big. The Drake May contract, the Caleb Williams contract, the Jaden Daniels contract. These teams are going to have big contracts. It's going to be interesting how these teams deal with that with success,
Absolutely.
So with that, we're gonna go here. It's been a great show. We had fun. That's the main thing. I know I'm having fun with Andrew when I say the Costa stuff. I'm not trying to do the Ravens that much. I'm having fun. The Ravens are still gonna be a great team. And I just wanted to get that out there because I as a fan of the Eagles and seeing that the Costa trade last year, or for Jair, and how that happened, I was like, okay, DeCosta, you won that one. You won that one a little bit. I'll give you that. I'll give you credit. You outdid Howie. You Howie. Okay, with that Jair Alexander trade, but at least we got some cap space. So I just want to get on that trend. But yeah, as we wrap up the show here, I just want to again shout out Sunday show with March Madness coming out. The men's bracket reveal show on CBS will be at 6 p.m. We'll be live here shortly after 7. I'm thinking around 7:15, 7:20 we'll be live for a special show. That'll be a fun show and everything like that. I just want to say I will be hosting that one again. We'll be going through the bracket and giving our national champion picks, our Final Four picks, national championship picks. We'll go through the bracket. We'll see wherever the committee decides what the matchups are going to be. Briefly each, it'll be about an hour, 15, hour 20, and everything like that. It should be a fun show. And then obviously clips from Total Apex Media will be reposted by me on the Ellis Highlight Reel, or reposted on my YouTube, Ellis Highlight Reel, as well, and everything like that. And 30B Ellis, as you see there, is my Twitter /X. Follow me there. I'll repost my articles and stuff like that if y'all want to read them. And also follow me on Total Apex Sports. And also for Tuesday's show, look forward to the Women's Month stuff and everything like that. But I'll let my guys here shout out their socials real quick.
All right. I'll just go first. So at Two Shanes is my Instagram handle. I have been reposting a lot of the clips from this show, be it me, being the other people, fine gentlemen you see here. And also, still working at Total Apex. I just did a recap of the tight ends for Dynasty Fantasy Football. A lot of movement, and hey, the great thing about being a football fan is the sport does not stop. There's no gap in coverage. Super Bowl already happened. We have these trading. We have implications. For fantasy football next year, and we haven't had a draft yet. So definitely still looking to crank out. I'm probably going to do a wide receiver article next, and we'll still be cranking out football stuff. So yeah.
So I love Shane's stuff. Like, go read his stuff because it's really in-depth fantasy stuff and everything like that. And also, before we go, I don't know if we highlighted this comment from Molly earlier. Why do athletes just refuse to rest? More likely to be stronger if rest is followed correctly. I think the reason that is, Molly, is because they want to get back in rhythm, especially basketball. Mm-hmm. It's about rhythm. It's a rhythm. Yeah. You want to get back in the rhythm as early as possible and everything like that. And for me, I think that's why Tatum didn't, he wanted to get back in rhythm. And I think if the doctors cleared him, it was important for him to get back in rhythm. Speaking of Boston, speaking of Celtics fandom, let my man Chris shout out this stuff real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So my X and Twitter is right on there. I'm at ChristianB617. It's interesting because I don't cover as much sports anymore. I used to do a little bit of everything. Now I'm pretty much solely focused on gaming. However, for those of you who are baseball fans, I am obviously baseball season is starting, and so I will be having some Red Sox, especially content on my Twitter for those of you who are interested in the Red Sox. And there may be some things to look forward to with Totally X in terms of baseball, but we will let you know of that in the coming time. So stay tuned for now on that. I'll leave that sort of open ended for those of you who are watching, but definitely exciting time to be a baseball fan. So
It is exactly the WBC. Is exciting. Time always brings the intrigue to the game of baseball, and then opening day is a couple weeks away. A couple weeks away to opening day. We will have the Japan series before that. The Dodgers. That I think the Cubs again this year too. That would be fun. So that would be a fun series. With that being said, this has been the Total Apex Sports Podcast, episode 7. Let's have a great night. We already had a great show, but let's have a great night. Peace.
take care, y'all.